Welcome back, you guys. Good to see you. And today, what we're going to cover is three-toned object drawing. We're going to have three objects we're drawing that have different tones: light, kind of medium, and dark objects. You want to put these together so you have something to work with and develop it from there. And we'll set this up. So the first thing, of course, is getting a size. Okay, well, as you always want to do when you set up a piece, you want to take time to measure it out. First thing I want to do is find out how wide the whole thing is to how tall it is. I was debating at first whether to go to the top of kind of the shoulder of the bottle, like without the spout, and measure that and add the spout later. But in the end, I decided to include the spout as part of the overall measurement. So I got the basic box set out there, and now I'm measuring to find the anchor points, because we want to make sure to have anchor points so that you're not moving things around as you go. And this really is exactly how I work all the time, right? Whether I'm practicing or demoing or doing professional work, this is what I do to establish where my pieces are going to be on my surface. This particularly comes into play if you're painting. If you're painting on a canvas, you want to make sure you've got things right where you want them, because you can't generally take the canvas and trim edges and move around and stuff like that. So you want to put things exactly where you want them to be in your piece. Okay, so I got the boxed out there. Now I want to lay in my light and dark patterns, right? That's the first thing you want to do, is claim where are your darks and where are your lights. Now in this piece here, you're working three different kinds of objects, or three different tones of object. You got a light piece, kind of medium dark piece, and a darkest piece, right? Objects. So you have the three different objects. So that's what this exercise is all about, is building those tones. Okay, so I'm kind of establishing what's light, what's medium, and then what's darkest. Now I still got to go a lot darker, and so I'll keep that in mind. Working on the first one, kind of the lightest one in the center there, that ball, just basically building it out, and then I'm toning around, getting more color on the paper, and just trying to establish kind of what's going to be my lightest light. Pretty soon in here, I'll want to put in some dark shadow, claim my darkest darks, and get those to work for me. It's like knowing the dynamics of a music piece, right? How loud it's going to be, how soft it's going to be, or how fast it's going to be and how slow it's going to be. Anything like that. Okay, so as we continue on here, again, we just want to establish those lights and darks, get those going. Now, remember too, every time you add an edge, a difference between a background area and an edge piece of the object, or between objects, or anything, remember to refine your measuring, refine your shaping. Make sure to take time to remeasure, recapture exactly where that moment is, like a corner on an object or a transition point between objects, and things like that. Okay, so every time you do something, remeasure, make it better and more accurate at that point. And so, yeah, just going around now, refining things as we go, and again, trying to make things more accurate as we put more into them. Okay, just thinking here, what else I got going? Now working into the dark area here. Again, I want to establish my shadow side of the dark object, right? It's going to be darker than what I had established before. Remember, just run darks into darks, and sometimes they're just separated by a little highlight, like that is from the top to the front. And then there's little, just, I hate to say detail, I hate to say the word detail, but little detail moments in there of lights and darks that are telling us something's going on there. It's actually a pattern on a fabric on the lid of this box. But I really don't care. You know, it's just lights and darks. I just want to put them in there, have them talking to me. And then just remember too, those thin little, what look like lines of dark, you don't want to think of them as lines. You don't want to drag a big old line in there, right? You want to make them as broad as you can and still be the thin toned area you want them to be. So again, just be very careful about not creating hard lines in a place where really it's just a small tone. I mean, in the end, it's kind of a line, right? But you don't want to think line, or it'll just scream out at you as you do that. Okay, here I'm cleaning up the measuring marks, right? So it still has some measuring marks out there. They made a little noise in there, in that area, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about it too much. And it actually adds to the chatter of the development of the piece, right? So establishing the shadow side of the mid-tone piece, looking for where there's edge differences. You can see that little bit of we call it foreshadow in between the light side of that object and where it turns around that hard corner towards the bottom. It's kind of an interesting object because it's circular around the top and then it turns into a square at the bottom. So where it starts to turn into the square and continues the square to the bottom, you start to see that core shadow show up. Now up here, I'm taking a little time trying to observe the shape and sizes of what's going on here. Later, I add to the top and I regret that. I should have left it about like this. Yeah, maybe I needed to add a little more. But now on that left side here, you'll notice the transition. I'm trying to blur together. I'm taking a paper towel, kind of a clean area, and just rubbing between the two. I create a little lost edge about midway on that far left side of that left object. Because at the top, it transitions from dark background to light object. Down the bottom, it goes from light background to darker object. So you want to make sure that you're telling that story, and somewhere in between there, the lights and darks match between the background and the object. Just let that be that lost edge, right? Almost forgot to do this cap or the plunger or the spout, and so I'm going up here and working that spout. Could have taken a little more time to measure on it, make sure it's accurate, more accurate, but I just went for it, wanted to get it done. And sometimes, again, you know, you're telling the story of what it should be, and who cares if it's exactly as you see it. Sometimes, as long as it tells a story and looks functionally correct, and works for you there. But now I'm just simply working smaller pieces of light and dark, right? And those what we call detail areas, right? Those refined specifics. Just working little pieces of light and dark as big as I can, and then pushing them smaller and smaller until I have it reading about how I want it to read. Okay, so working that there and just jumping around, refining a few things before I call it good. Okay, so basically I have it built here now. You'll notice I don't have everything perfect. I've got the little squirter spout, that there. Okay, so
just jumping around.
Basically have it built here now.
Before I
You'll
call it
notice I don't have everything perfect. I've got the little squirter spout, a little short. I decided to go with it and just let it work the way it is. You know, not everything's absolutely perfect, but that's sometimes not always the point, right? What you want to do here is make sure you have 3 different values, a light, a medium, and a dark. This ball here is lighter than the ball in the reference, but anyway, work the 3 different objects, and remember, just use lights and darks, make it work, but don't forget your main shadow bodies, like shadow, 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 some core shadow, and reflected light where it's happening, okay? And anyway, just work it out, do as much as you can, and we'll go from there. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that, and this is your assignment for this week. So anyway, good luck, you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, take care. Bye bye.